As the official healthcare provider of Minnesota United, Allina Health is dedicated to delivering pro-level care for our Loons. But the partnership goes much deeper than what happens on the field. From our shared support of youth-focused nonprofits like Roots for the Home Team, to championing programs for adaptive athletes with the MNUFC Power Soccer Team, Allina Health and Minnesota United are committed to providing an altogether better experience for Loons fans. Learn more at allinahealth.org/loons. Welcome back to the Sound of the Loons podcast, brought to you by Allina Health. Here we are with the next very valued guest member of the podcast, a one and only Mr. Alec Smir. Welcome to the podcast.
What's up, man? I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to be here too. I just noticed how your shirt, I don't know if the fans can see it. If not, you changed your number.
Yeah.
From
Exciting.
what? Looks like 30.
Now I'm number one.
Nice. You number one. I'm number two.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff.
I don't know if people got my Austin Powers reference, but welcome to the podcast. This is your first ever time on Sound of the Loons, brought to you by Allina Health. If I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, it is. Never been on, so I'm excited.
Well, listen, we're going to have a good one. We're going to dive into a few different topics, but first and foremost, how are you dealing with this current weather? It was arguably the coldest training session I've ever been a part of in my life.
It was freezing. It was so cold. My face was so cold, but just dealing with it, the wind, but it's all good.
So as a goalie, do you just stand back there and just rub your hands together? Do you run? Do you move? What do you do when it's this cold?
Try to move around a little bit. Try to just move side to side. Try to talk, so I'm just staying connected to the game. But yeah, when it's this cold, it's tough.
I was on the verge of jumping into training because I was way too cold.
Yeah, it was freezing, but we got through it, so we're all good.
I think it was in the teens. I think with the wind chill or something like that. It was. Yeah, hopefully this weekend is a lot warmer. But is it normally this cold in North Carolina? Let's go straight into it. Coming from North Carolina, is it like this?
No, I've had to get used to it, but I feel like now that I've been here for a little bit, I'm used to it at this point. But from North Carolina, no, I mean, this time of year it's around 60s, 70s, so it's nice.
Do you even have winters in North Carolina or not really?
We do. I mean, we get all 4 seasons, but it definitely isn't. There's no extremes. Like, it's very mild on everything. It's never like way too hot. It's never way too cold. I mean, it probably snows once a year, if that. So
we played in the College Cup in 2009. Subtle flex. But we played at Cary, North Carolina at the Soccerplex. Yeah. And I remember that game being, it wasn't snowing, but it was almost like a freezing rain.
Yeah.
But that seems to be like the coldest it gets in North Carolina.
Yeah. I mean, 30s, 20s is the max. I mean, you probably never get down like here to the negative temperatures. I mean, coming here, this was the first time I've ever seen a negative temperature before.
Yeah, seriously. So when it comes to North Carolina soccer, we're going to fast forward a little bit. You went to UNC. How was that experience? Chapel Hill has to be awesome.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was some of the best years of my life, I have to admit.
So how'd you end up there? Was it scouted through high school? Was it academy? I know.
Yeah.
We'll take you behind the curtain a little bit. Golf was something that you seriously took for a while too. Obviously nowadays you're still pretty good, but take us through the decision to play soccer, then how you ended up at UNC.
Yeah, I was playing through the developmental academy with North Carolina Fusion in Greensboro, North Carolina. So it was an hour away from Chapel Hill. So it was always kind of my dream growing up to play for Chapel Hill. I always used to go to their ID camps as a kid. And yeah, just really, really wanted to go there, was excited about it. And like I said, always was going to their ID camps. So they knew me pretty well. Kind of knew the coaches, and then got into kind of the national team scene through the developmental academy. And it was just an easy decision from there on.
Just piece of cake, Chapel Hill straight in.
Yeah, right away.
That's awesome.
I remember they called me really late at night, and I had like official visits scheduled later that week with some other colleges. And the minute they called, I said, yeah, like I'm in.
Straight in. That's
so,
awesome.
So that was exciting.
So when did you make the choice to play soccer over golf? Because you're a pretty darn good golfer. We had golfed too many times to count. And when did you make that decision that soccer was the route to go?
That was probably like early teens. It was kind of just getting to the point where it was like, you're moving into the academy around, what was that? 13, 14 was like pre-academy. So probably around then, was like, if I want to take soccer seriously, can't really do both. So
yeah, fair enough.
So, but yeah, I mean, I still obviously, love to golf on my off days and my free time. So, but I mean, obviously happy I picked soccer, the team sport. I think it's more of it was a better route for me, and I was better at it at the time. So
I really liked basketball, and I really wanted to be a basketball player. I wanted to grow up and be Allen Iverson. I wanted to get cornrows. I got the tattoos. I wore number 3 for Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
But I was on the B team for basketball and the national team for soccer, so it kind of made the decision for me. I didn't know if that was crazy.
Self-explanatory.
I'm still terrible at basketball, and you're actually really good at golf. So I knew the decision was a little bit probably more difficult than mine was. But being from North Carolina, nowadays we have to talk about it.
Yeah.
And March Madness,
deserved.
Yeah,
we got the win last night against San Diego State. So I mean, hey, no one wanted us to be in the tournament.
Do you think this is gonna make a run now? Be honest. Be critical at this point.
I think we'll win a couple games. I do. I think we're kind of that good, like annoying team you don't want to see early on.
Round of 32, Sweet 16. What are we thinking?
32-16.
Really?
I want us to go as far as we can.
Really? But out of here.
I think we beat Ole Miss. I think we're favored right now too.
Stop.
That's our first game's Ole Miss. I think we beat them.
The one governor of West Virginia is suing you guys. I mean, that's ridiculous. The guy's a child, but still.
They didn't want to see us in because they know we're a good team.
Oh, they hate us because they hate us.
Exactly.
So then I do have one question about North. My one follow-up is, did you go to any games as a kid then?
Yeah, definitely.
So
I grew up going to basketball games, football games, soccer games.
Did you go to a bunch of soccer games then?
Yeah, definitely.
Were you at the game when Akron beat him 3-0 when I played?
I don't know. I don't remember that one very well. No, that's a good one. I probably wasn't there, but I have heard of that.
I was just curious if you maybe you just happened to miss that game.
I don't know.
So you had a successful time with UNC and played there, and obviously got drafted by FC Dallas. Talk about the experience of getting drafted by Dallas and the transition. I mean, being a pro nowadays is a lot different than when I left. So talk about that transition, how fun it was, some of the challenges you went through, and how it formed you to the player you are today. Yeah,
I think honestly it was a tough time for me, but also I think I really needed it. Like I got drafted by Dallas and was straight into preseason after the college season, which is tough, and then did well throughout preseason. They ended up signing a guy towards the end, so I got let go, and I came here to the second team, and I think that was really good for me because I was straight in with Jonathan Barber.
Yep,
and we connected like right away.
Shout out Jono.
Yeah, shout out Jono. He was just coming straight into America for the first time, and this was obviously like my first professional environment. I think he was a real like mentor for me. And yeah, I think it was great. I think I needed kind of that transitionary period from college into say the first team, like into the second team.
There was a gap year.
Yeah, there was a gap year for sure. And I think I needed that definitely to just mature as a goalkeeper and just get up to speed really.
So take us into some of the teachings and the things you learned from Jono, because goalie is a very weird, odd position because you're going to, you'll play the game, you'll get hit in the nuts, you'll get hit in the face, and then you get right back up and you do the exact same thing again. Mm-hmm. There's a certain level of psychopath that goes into that. So take us into some of the things that were difficult and not what you experienced in college from the pro level, even to the 2Z level. Take us into just some things areas in which you grew, some things that were difficult, some things that you thought were easy. Just take us in your head a bit.
Yeah, I you have to be a little crazy first to start off. You have to be a little crazy. So I think that's why the goalkeeper crew is so close, because we're all a little
nuts
off. But yeah, I think a lot of things. I think at first, just obviously the speed's a lot faster. I think the intensity, the margins are a lot smaller. So like that's a big jump, I think, from the college level. Even at a really high level, it's just there's more at stake. There's like I said, smaller margins. And I think especially as a goalkeeper, we kind of deal in really, really small margins already. Yeah. So I think that is pretty hard to transition. Like it can be lonely back there for sure. I mean, if you're having a rough day or nothing's going right, like you're kind of just back there by yourself. So that's tough, especially as you transition from like a college environment where it's all team, rah, 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 into a professional environment, which is seems more individual. Right. And I think that's tough, but I think there was a lot of good stuff. I think, like I said, Jonathan was amazing for me. I think the guys that were on that second team were awesome. We had a really tight knit group, and the goalkeepers as well. So I think we kind of look out for each other. So I think that was a huge thing.
Because 2022 was the year before I got here. So I know some of the guys that transferred over into that team, but you think that was a good, again, as much of a gap year as you could have between college where you're not getting paid and you're not getting paid to do this every single day to suddenly now some people are making a living and supporting families doing what they do, but it's not to the stress level of a first team, but it's also not to the casualness essentially of a college team.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was perfect for me because I needed that time to really improve physically, emotionally, tactically, everything. I mean, just everything. And I think, like I said, it was the perfect transitional period. Got to play my first couple professional games there with the second team and just enjoyed it. And it was a great experience.
And obviously you enjoyed it. If you want, apparently, reading some of the notes here, the Goalie Wars champion.
Yeah, that was awesome. I got to participate in that. That was what was that, 2022?
Yeah.
It was the All-Star weekend was here in Minnesota, and they were trying to bring back Goalie Wars into it, so they let some of the next pro goalkeepers play in it. And
were you throw into the net or were you kick?
I did both. I was mainly volley? Like a half volley was my thing.
Half volley's good.
And I was just power and. Yeah, because it's a small distance. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Beating up on some of the Liga MX goalies.
Yeah, it was fun. Or actually, no, it was only next pro goalkeepers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was cool.
That's a nice little feather in your cap there.
Yeah. So that was a cool kind of introduction, and I think built a little bit of confidence, and I think it was just a fun experience, if nothing else.
Sweepstakes alert. Do you want to see MNUFC go up against Inter Miami on May 10th? Enter through the MNUFC mobile app to win 2 free tickets to the high-stakes spring game. This exclusive giveaway runs March 18th to April 3rd. Download the MNUFC app or visit MNUFC.com to learn more. So then let's keep fast forwarding as we're building along here. Back up until last year.
Yeah.
Making your debut.
Yeah.
How was that?
Just exciting. I think that was a moment like you always want it to come, but I think as a goalkeeper, especially one plays, you never know when that moment's going to come. And I think it happened really quickly, and it was kind of a crazy time for us last year, especially as a team, but I think it was just fun. I think it was exciting. And yeah, it's a crazy thing, but obviously an accomplishment that I've been wanting to hit for a while. So
you came in as a 3, and then I think Clint played a few games and got injured, which has then thrusted you into that spotlight. Was that something that, looking back, we can, hindsight's always 2020. Were you ready? Were you excited? Was it one of these things where you kind of hope it happens and then suddenly it happens and you're going, holy shnikes, I'm actually in it. And then, just take us into those moments, or even the week leading up to the first game against Vancouver where you're going, this is going to be it.
This is real. Yeah. I think so. Yeah. Clint ended up getting injured on the weekend, during the game. So I think I had kind of the whole week knowing that I would be in. But yeah, I think like you said, you always hope for that moment, but then when it comes, you're like, oh, this is real. I'm in on Saturday. So no, it was a lot of nerves and a lot of emotion, but I think once the game started, it all just kind of happened. And
I was your number one fan, man. I was your number one fan. I was in those games and just loving seeing you, go out there and do your thing and on a grand stage. And it was awesome to see. And obviously again, there's a lot of intricacies around the goalie position. I always find myself gravitating towards goalies because I'm a little cuckoo and I feel like I can connect with you guys a bit. Obvious in terms of just the season and how it breaks down, your position doesn't rotate like others. You don't have 60th minute subs, 70th minute subs to kind of change things out. Even when teams make changes in penalty kicks, people view it as this crazy, in-game switch. So what's it like playing behind Dane in terms of what you learn and what you've grown as a player, and then talk us through some of the mindset and just always kind of having to be ready in the back of your mind. You could be thrusted into a game with 90 minutes left, knock on wood, or with 1 minute left.
Yeah, it's true. I think it's a tough spot because me and Tom talk about this a lot. I have to get most of my game prep scenarios in training, and you just don't have a lot of time to work on those kind of things. And you just have to be ready at any moment. But I think Dane, being behind Dane, Clint Irwin, like you mentioned last year, They've been awesome for me just to kind of learn and watch how they operate day to day and, learn from them. And yeah, I think it's a great spot for me, but at the same time, yeah, it's hard because you never know when you're going to be in. You never know when, obviously the international windows are more, you can plan ahead a bit more, but I think, yeah, you could be in minute 1 or minute 90 and you'll have to do the same job. So it's kind of just always staying ready. So you don't have to get ready, I guess. Right. Yeah. But, yeah, it's tough over the course of a season for sure.
So then are you trying to find different ways throughout training to get reps? Because at the same time, the fragility, I don't know if that's a word. We're gonna have to get that. I don't know, the fragileness of, there you go. Maybe they're both words.
Yeah.
Of the position, because in terms of just the depth chart, right?
Yeah.
So you can't necessarily play a bunch of games with the second team because we need you to be fresh and be ready for the first team. Exactly. But then you obviously have to wait and be patient. And in some ways you hope you don't necessarily play because that means someone's injured. But at the same time, when your goalie does play for a national team, you're probably going to get some games here and there.
Yeah.
Is that a weird place to kind of navigate, or are there any tips and tricks that you've picked up along the way to stay sharp, or is it something you're learning in the process?
I think last year was a big learning process for me just because I was playing with the second team. And then obviously when Clint was playing, I was on the bench. So then I wasn't getting minutes. So I think last year was just kind of there was more moving parts with the injuries, obviously, but this year, I think we have a better understanding. But yeah, it's not easy. You go long periods of times, games on games where you don't play and you're just watching. And then like this weekend, you're just thrusted in and you just have to slot in and do the best you can.
So then what's the difference in terms of preparedness? Because I can speak to a player in terms of I would say the intensity of actions is a lot different from training to games. Yeah. So when I'm out on the wing as an outside back and I have to go against someone 1v1, we can emulate that as much as possible. But once you get into a game, it's very different. There's a different level of intensity. And then also at the same time, the pressure you're facing when someone's stepping out to you is just a notch bigger. So I can speak to the intensity and the quickness I have to play the ball.
Yeah.
For a goalie, what's the difference or the main difference you've seen from training to a game?
I think, again, like you said, just the intensity and then just the quickness of how fast these guys are taking a touch and shooting, right? And I think it's hard sometimes as goalkeepers when we're shooting on each other, right? I don't have the same shot as number 9s in the league that are making millions of dollars, right? So I think just trying to emulate it as much as we can in training, but knowing in the game it's going to be that second quicker and just kind of preparing for that.
Is that something you try to do in terms of emulating people shooting a certain 100%. Way, like the Cristiano dippy way or curve, or is it more just this guy this week for Nerds Cluster FC takes a touch and he has a really quick release? Because there's certain people that have a really quick, powerful release. There's other players that have a slower one that's more accurate, but if they get a hold of it, it's probably going to go in. But there's some guys who just out of a blink of an eye can immediately turn and toe poke it. Temu was like that.
Yeah, Temu was great at that. It seemed to always get me.
Because it was just he would turn and he would hit it without you even notice it.
But yeah, I'd say we don't emulate as much as the strikes, but more of like the scenarios that we would find those players in, whether it's a winger that likes to cut in and go across his body or something like that. We'll try to incorporate that. Tom Faldry does a really good job of making our sessions very live and very real, so that even if you make the save, it's the rebound and things like that. So yeah, just trying to emulate those situations as much as we can.
So you can't get in them, but you're trying to prepare yourself as much as possible. Because I can practice 1v1s all day because that's what I'm actually going to go into. It's just a matter of the level of error you can make, right? Because you can get beat in training and it's darn, that kind of stunk. Whereas you get skinned in a game and it's, well, this guy might score a goal.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, this is cool to me. So hopefully the fans are enjoying this one because again, I've never asked these questions and I always enjoy doing so. So, what's it like? And hopefully this doesn't happen, but how quick of a memory do you have to have as a goalie? Even if you give up a shot or, you give a ball away or you come out for a cross and you drop it and it's a close chance and it doesn't go in, how quick of a Snapchat memory do you have to have?
Yeah, it's got to be almost instant memory loss, which is tough sometimes because, there's a lot of emotion and feeling. And when you
of course
mess up, you feel that and it feels lonely and there's a lot of eyes on you back there sometimes. But yeah, you just have to move on. I think sometimes that's the hardest thing as a goalkeeper is just that short-term memory loss. But I think you hear some of the top goalkeepers talk about it, and it's just on to the next. You can only affect the next ball, right? So.
Is it that simple, or do you read books? Do you meditate? Do you talk to a sports psychologist?
Yeah,
because again, you want to be reflective and learn.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's moments to do so, and in-game is probably not the moment.
No, in-game's not the time to do it. You have to move on. I mean, you have to just be bulletproof, really. I mean, that's kind of what it is. It's just the next ball. I think that's the way I look at it. Like, what's done is done, and you just have to make the next action better. Yep.
So then take us, obviously we have to touch on it, but as a club here, we're not going to shy away from difficult conversations. Last match was pretty frustrating. So take us a little bit into the locker room about how we're dealing with some of these frustrations, not necessarily yourself, but just the group, because, when you're that close to getting 3 points and then it ends up being, drop points, it's difficult. So take us just into the mindset a little bit of the group, because I am not there anymore. So I'm curious how some of the guys, whether it's conversations or whatever it might be, or just dealing with the, the difficult week looking ahead to LA Galaxy at home.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird that you're not in there anymore. you cross the threshold.
I know.
But no, yeah, I think there was a lot of frustration. I think when you're up 3-0, you expect to win the game, right? And I think we did a lot of things really, really well, but I think it's a good point to, like you said, kind of reflect. The game's gone, and right, we got a point, but it's a time now reflect on why that happened and how we can improve for this week. And again, I think it goes to the same thing we were kind of talking about. I think the game is done, it's finished, and we can learn from things, and we'll move on to this weekend. So, and try to put it right.
And so moving on, what does the club expect going forward against another difficult team? I mean, every game's difficult, but against a difficult team, obviously last year's champions in LA Galaxy, what's the team expecting?
Yeah, I mean, a good team, like regardless of how they started the season, a lot of good quality and players up front. So we're expecting a really tough game, which is exciting. Yeah,
I mean, I always say that tough games are hard because they are hard, but they're also more fun at the same time, though, because it's almost too easy, right? If you have all the money in the world and you can buy cars, it loses its allure. So when you have to struggle a little bit, it makes those games even more fun. Hopefully not too much. Hopefully we don't need to do, hopefully not do too much, but
it's the games you want to play in as a player, with the exciting, end games. So it'll be fun.
That's awesome. Well, I know myself and the fans and everyone's looking forward to yourself and the rest of the team get back out there. Hopefully it's not nearly as cold as it has been the past few days. But listen, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me here on the Sound of the Loons, brought to you by Align Health. Hopefully you come back.
Yeah, have me again. It'd be awesome. I really enjoyed it.
I know. Next time I want to dive into even more so, I would love to touch base with the actual technique and stuff behind goalkeeping, because again, this is a world in which nobody knows. Even pros.
It's a whole nother world, and that's why, like I said, the goalkeeper crew is so tight, because we're the only ones that can understand it most of the time.
Oh, you guys go out and warm up by yourselves, you train by yourselves, and you pop in, do your things, and you do individual, your own film. You guys are in your own world.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy, is that something you enjoy, or is it kind of isolating, or no?
I think
we're diving back in. We're diving back in.
It can be, but I love it. I wouldn't change it. So
okay. Well, hopefully you don't change it, because I don't think you'd be very good on the field.
No, I don't think so either. That's why I'm back there. Man.
Oh, awesome. Well, again, thank you very much for joining myself on the Sound of the Loons podcast, brought to you by Align Health. All the best this weekend against Galaxy.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Take care.